On July 13th, 1824, a small group of African American believers gathered in the home of David Nickens, right here in Chillicothe, Ohio. With the help of Elder William White of the Deer Creek Presbyterian Church and Reverend Nathan Corey, a Baptist, they were questioned the articles of faith, given their charge, and extended the right hand of fellowship. And on that day, the first regular African Baptist Church of Christ in Chillicothe was born. Among those founding members were Reverend David Nickens, Abraham Nickens, William Thomas, Benjamin Jones, Minty Day, Sarah Nickens, and Ruth Nickens, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. Just 5 days later, David Nickens began preparing for ministry. He was licensed in October of 1824 and ordained in 1825, becoming the first man of color ordained to ministry in the state of Ohio. The new congregation baptized 20 members and ordained its first deacon, Abraham Nickens. From the very beginning, this church took a stand. Written into its articles of decorum was a pledge to work for the abolition of slavery. In the 1830s, the congregation went even further, changing its very name to the First Anti-Slavery Baptist Church of Chillicothe. This church did not just preach freedom, it wore freedom as its name. Members of this congregation served as operators on the Underground Railroad, helping men, women, and children escape bondage and find their way to freedom. Pastor Nickens himself hid fugitives in his own home. In 1832, Reverend Nickens and his congregation joined with the AME Church to protest the denial of rights to people of color, declaring that the suffering of African Americans was linked to an unjust government. It was prophetic then, and it is still yet prophetic. Before the Civil War, this congregation opened a school in the church building, with Reverend John R. Bowles and Mrs. A.E. Chancellor among its early teachers, educating the young people of this community when few others would. And this church could sing. In the 1850s, Reverend Bowles organized a choir, a group directed by James D. Hackley, whose fine tenor voice helped make this choir known as the finest in Southern Ohio. Music has been our bones from the very beginning. In 1867, the congregation purchased a brick structure at 65 West 4th Street and took the name it carries to this day, the First Baptist Church. The baptismal pool and Sunday school rooms were added in 1894, and in 1896, the church was extended as the stained glass windows were dedicated. Through the 20th century, this church stood at the center of community life. The congregation affiliated with the Ohio Baptist Association and the Eastern Union Missionary Baptist Association, two organizations that they still associate with to this day. Faithful shepherds led this flock through the years. Among them, Reverend Melvin Woodard, who served this congregation for 30 years across 2 seasons of leadership and whose name lives on in Woodard Hall. The 21st century opened with vision. In 2002, under the pastorate of Reverend Jonathan McReynolds, now Dr. Jonathan McReynolds, a new structure was erected and dedicated, housing a fellowship hall, a computer room, an assembly hall, a nursery, and classrooms. In 2006, the former fellowship hall was refurbished and rededicated as Woodard Hall. The ministries of the church expanded. A van ministry, a children's church, 2 Sunday services, a mass choir, a praise team, and a scholarship fund. Alongside the faithful work of the Missionary Society, the usher board, the deacons, the deaconesses, and trustees, Reverend Michael Austin of Baltimore, Maryland led the congregation from 2009 to 2012. Reverend Eric Carson of Columbus, Ohio, was called to the pulpit in April of 2014 and served until August of 2023. And in October of 2023, Reverend Moses Edwards Jr. of Columbus, Ohio, was installed as pastor, continuing a legacy now more than 2 centuries strong. 202 years, born in a living room, baptized in the fight for freedom, sustained by the faithfulness of God. God has kept us from David Nickens to this present hour, The same God who gathered 7 believers in 1824 still gathers us today in 2026. And our story is not over. To God be the glory for the good things he has done.